Before we dive into this review of the inner game, let's talk about why classic books like this are worth our attention. In the world of coaching and human performance, the foundational texts aren't just old, they're the roots of the techniques, mindsets, and strategies that shape today's best practices. By studying these classics, we aren't just reading history, we're learning about the principles that still drive real change, whether you're an athlete, coach, or anyone striving for personal growth. Exploring foundational works gives us deeper insight into why modern methods work and helps us see the journey of ideas that got us here. Before we get into what makes the inner game a true classic, let's remember standing on the shoulders of prior knowledge gives us a better view, gives us an advantage. It's like building layers of bricks of knowledge, and you might find some ideas or concepts to build upon. Published in 1974, Galway's book became a breakthrough in sports psychology and self improvement. He argues that two selves, the overbearing critic and the natural performer, are constantly at odds. The inner game is about quieting your critical mind so your real abilities can shine. While written for tennis players, the approach now influences coaching, learning, and leadership worldwide. First published in 1974, this groundbreaking book introduced a mental approach to peak performance in sports and beyond. Galway was a Harvard tennis team captain who revolutionized coaching by focusing on the mind's role in skill mastery. This book blends psychology, meditation, and athletic insight to help readers reduce self doubt and improve focus. It has sold over 1 million copies and is widely regarded as a classic in sports psychology and personal development. When the inner game of tennis came out in 1974, it was a breakthrough. Most coaching focused only on physical technique, but Galway revealed the mental battle inside every player's mind. His key insight was that the two selves, the critical conscious mind and the intuitive unconscious mind, often work against each other. This recognition transformed tennis coaching by emphasizing mental obstacles like self doubt, concentration lapses, and tension as key performance blockers. Nearly 50 years later, Galway's ideas remain incredibly relevant in coaching and performance psychology. Coaches across sports, business leaders, and educators use the inner game principles to help people develop relaxed concentration and trust in their natural abilities. The self one versus self two framework guides mental training beyond athletics, improving learning, creativity, and leadership worldwide. It paved the way for modern mindfulness and mental performance coaching. The inner game of tennis isn't just for tennis players, it's for anyone who wants to perform better in any field: athletes, creatives, business professionals, teachers, and learners. If you struggle with self doubt, criticism, or mental blocks, this book offers tools to improve focus, reduce tension, and unlock your true potential. Galway opens by explaining that every game has two parts: the outer game against your opponent and the inner game against your own mind. Most people focus only on the outer game, but the inner game, fighting nerves, lapses in concentration, and self criticism, is often the real challenge. Winning the inner game means achieving relaxed concentration and letting your skills flow naturally. Chapter 1 highlights the mental nature of tennis. Galway observes how players sabotage themselves through negative self talk and tension. He points out that most training ignores this mental side, focusing solely on physical skill. Yet to peak, players must learn to perform effortlessly, trusting their bodies rather than overthinking every move. Here in Chapter 2, Galway introduces Self 1 and Self 2. Self 1 is the teller, conscious mind, critical and controlling. Self 2 is the unconscious natural doer that knows how to perform. The book's key premise is that improving the relationship between these two selves is essential to performing well. Too much interference by Self 1 causes mistakes and tension. This chapter introduces the cornerstone skill, non judgmental awareness. Galway teaches us to quiet the critical self by simply observing our actions without labeling them good or bad. Doing this eases tension, opens up true learning, and allows the natural doer self to take over, leading to smoother, more confident play. The focus here in Chapter 4 is on trust. Galway encourages you to let go of conscious control, turning down the volume on the critical self, and rely on your natural doer self. This kind of trust builds self confidence, drastically reduces anxiety, and nurtures a sense of flow where your best performance emerges naturally. Galway challenges traditional teaching. Rather than forcing technique through constant critique, he advises simply observing outcomes and letting your natural doer self learn by experience. This approach leads to more adaptable skills, better learning, and makes improvement feel natural, not forced. Galway takes his philosophy off the page with practical applications. Breaking old habits and forming new ones isn't about relentless self correction by the critical self. It's about engaging relaxed concentration and non judgmental awareness. This way, new patterns can form, sticking more easily and lastingly. Galway outlines the importance of effortless, relaxed concentration, training your attention toward the ball, your breathing, or present sensations lets you sidestep the critical self's distractions. This kind of focus sharpens your performance by helping your natural doer self stay active and engaged. Galway looks at the psychological games that players fall into: self critique, distractions, sabotage. By recognizing these mental traps and learning to step outside of them, players can neutralize the critical self's negative influence and keep the natural doer self front and center. Galway reframes competition. It shouldn't just be about beating opponents, but overcoming personal barriers. He argues that competing with yourself, challenging your critical self, and empowering your natural doer self is the heart of true progress and leads to deeper satisfaction. Finally, Galway shows the inner game approach applies far beyond tennis. The tensions created by the critical self lead to stress in work, relationships, and learning. Listening more to your natural doer self can bring calm, improve growth, and even transform everyday life. Galway writes, the first inner skill to be developed in the inner game is that of non judgmental awareness. What does that mean? It means learning to observe your actions whether a tennis swing, a work habit, or a creative attempt, without immediately labeling it good or bad. Galway makes the case that the real problem isn't our performance itself, but how our critical self, or what he calls the teller, judges every move. The moment we say, that was terrible, we tighten up and block our natural doer self from performing freely. When we simply notice where the ball landed, how the movement felt, we create space for learning and growth. This non judgmental awareness is powerful because it softens the inner critic and lets our natural abilities take over. It's the foundation for real performance on and off the court. My biggest takeaway, the idea that judgment and pressure wreck your natural ability. I've definitely experienced this, both at work and when trying to learn something new. The book's practical focus cues make a huge difference. Have you ever felt stuck because of your own overthinking? Inner game formula is performance equals potential minus interference. Your performance, how well you actually do, is determined by your natural potential, reduced by any interference. Interference usually takes the form of mental obstacles, self doubt, fear, overthinking, or judgment. Galway's insight is that realizing your full potential isn't just about working harder or adding new skills. Instead, it's about identifying and removing these inner barriers. When you reduce interference, your true abilities, your potential, can shine through at their highest level. Maximizing performance is really about subtraction, clearing away what holds you back so what's really already inside you can take center stage.